All right, screw it. We can start early because I was late coming in here because for some reason my computer wasn't hooked up to the internet. Largely because I had to unplug the direct wire to this computer, which allows me to stream, and plug it into the other computer so that Johnny Million and I could test a system whereby the two of us could play music together. Was it a successful test? All right. Yes and no. Yes, in terms of it was a rekindling of our creative relationship because we were showing each other riffs and playing a little bit, and I played a couple of song ideas that I've had for a while kicking around in my dome. And Johnny is, I'm no slouch, but Johnny's 10 times the player I am, and therefore I was like, hey, maybe we could toss some ideas around, maybe make a song or two, and that we can do. Playing in time, exactly. I don't know. And the site that we were using that somebody recommended to him, while lovely, I think the dead giveaway about it was, hold on one second, the overhead lights on because I was under my desk. I think the dead giveaway about it was the fact that it was that there are a lot of jazz people on there. Love jazz, I suppose. I'm kidding. I can't stand experimental jazz. I find it a waste of time. But I like jazz compositions, which I would just call instrumentalism. But we'll table that for another time. Since we have to label everything these days, because isn't that what life is all about? Refining your label and making sure it sticks. Hold on, let me open up. Where do you restream chat so I can look at you, lovely folks? It's just a lovely thing. Now, before we really kick into what we're doing, we are going to, and I just came back from the gym and it's too hot downstairs and I just left my tank top on. I hope that's okay. Maybe this is what we're doing for 50K. It's just I'm wearing less clothing. By the time I get to 1 million subscribers, buck naked. Thank you very much. Anyways, so where were we? Oh, yes. So Johnny Million and I hanging out and making music together is now a thing. And hi, chat room. Welcome, everybody. We've hit 50K. Thanks to you folks. I'm very excited. I'm not quite sure what we do as a celebration. I think the celebration for 50K will be the kicking off of the shorts. So other people would have done it in reverse, but the idea being is that I plan on doing more short form stuff that I can bridge off of this. So that was our line where maybe the ad rev kicks up a little. That might help pay for the service that does the cutting and the slapping and the in there. No Twitch chat. There's Twitch chat. I see Twitch people in there. I do not wear shorts. I'm wearing these guys. I'm wearing sweat, like wearing these kind of things. My foot is not resting on anything, by the way. Yeah, I can keep my leg like this for a very long time. It's very weird. It's a kung fu thing. They said something about how, like, if you can determine now I'm Captain Morganing, but there's nothing there holding my foot up. I'm just saying. That being able to balance yourself on one leg is indicative of it. Basically, if you can't do it for, I don't know, what it was, 20 seconds, your chances of dying in the next 10 years are like 50% higher. Yeah, the balanced physicality. Yes. So I'm able to do that. Yes. Thank you so much for the 50K, you guys. I wish I had a big 50K graphic. We will have that for 100K. But thank you, as Joe Biden would say. Sorry, Hal, wear shorts, wear some shorts, Hal, show some leg. No, so can I, Hal, I'm an amputee. Well, yeah, Paul McSwibney, I can't read what your name is there, but I'm very impressed. It's good, especially considering your situation. I'm even more impressed. Yeah, this is my, this tank top, it's green, so you can see through part of it. You can see it. This is my Grant Morrison t-shirt or tank top. What is wrong with me? Yeah. Oh, thank you. So Grant Morrison's the comic book artist that is credited with reviving, I think, the Arkham Asylum Batman era. I myself am a big fan of The Invisibles, his series, and I've based more than a couple of stand-up bits on his performance at the Disinfo conference where he tells everybody how to do sigil magic. Only C49.9. I probably dropped down. Like I lost 10. Am I still going to run for mayor of Los Angeles? Yes, after Karen Bass finishes her term. How have you covered Marianne Williamson? Have I covered Marianne Williamson? I used to work for Marianne Williamson. We've covered her quite a bit here. I'm going to reach out and see if she'll come on the show. I highly doubt it now that she's a big, highfalutin candidate who can get on shows, she's in the big leagues now, like Breaking Points and Jimmy Dore's show. So, who the fuck am I? Oh, yes. I'm holding it together. It's the current state of affairs. It's my Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson stance when you tug on your tank top. Sorry, that was a $50K request. She's a corporate apologist? Marianne? What? No, Marianne's not a corporate apologist. Marianne is a corporate denialist. She like so many people who try to go run left of the majority of Democrats to try and scoop up the activist crowd so that they can wedge themselves in and get more of their agenda through. They deny the existence of the fact that they both have corporations themselves, benefit from corporations. In the case of Marianne and people like Russell Brand and Jimmy Dore, they're multimillionaires. So, I call horseshit. It is for thirst trapping No, if I was going to do that, I'd be oiled up with no shirt on at all. She's a nothing burger. Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, there's no there. And it's not that her message couldn't resonate or have some value, but it just fucking ain't. It's going to be 71 with no college degree, sadly. Wouldn't be famous without Oprah. Yes, she wouldn't have gotten her book deal. Her second book wouldn't have taken off without Oprah. That's absolutely true. Oiled up Hal, don't tease us. Yeah, that's going to happen. I didn't do shoulders today, so sorry. Or I'd be, Muscle Mondays. Is that what we're going to do? Just, it's just, okay. Let me start because we'll get to the trends in just 1 second. But I would like to speak for a moment on the message of religion or spirituality and politics and the overlapping ethic of a human being and the divergent, crazy pants horseshit that often occurs when people try to either pretend they aren't or oversell how much they are. So you get your evangelicals who are selling Christianity rather than performing it. You have Russell and to some degree Marianne, I would say to a lesser degree because she's done it for longer, whatever, selling spirituality in the abstract. It's interesting to me that Marianne doesn't really mention like A Course in Miracles anymore unless she's at Agape speaking there or something like that, when it's effectively she built her entire philosophy on that book itself, but she's kind of like stiff-arming it like some Scientologists do with the organization. You know what I mean? Where they are, but don't talk about it. And they benefit from the background and the support structure of who's there or the illusion that it still exists while selling themselves as just whatever anybody wants to do. That kind of thing. Marianne gives Jimmy Dore Russell Turks, a candidate they will say is better than Biden to people dumb enough to listen to him. Yes, it's HP at 111. I'll take you to the gym. I've done a couple of workout things. We'll do that. She sounds like Jordan Peterson. What's up with your kiss buddy Paul? Simon, I don't have a problem with what he said, and I'll explain why in a second. And again, he's a great indicator of how the messaging is off and the damage that is being done by the slacktivist class around these certain issues. And we'll talk about it in a minute, because I think he's trending right now or whatever. But when it's somebody like Tucker Carlson or Jordan Peterson or somebody, that where they're coming from, I think is a place of ill will. When somebody like Paul, who's that comfortable with his flamboyant side, and I myself am a closeted glam vestite, as many of you know, when he can speak openly about it, it's from a genuine place, and there's a difference, and you have to allow for that difference. Otherwise, you're just like, you're George W. Bush. If you're not for us, you're against us. That kind of shit. Today's Philip's birthday. How did I not know that? Good Lord. So, all right, let's hit the gym. Let's do it. Wilshire Boulevard. Okay, Javier, we'll do that. Or do you go by Xavier? Javier, I'm going to go with Javier. Lots to talk about, but I will say this, that you and I, as a crowd, well, hold on. I'm going to get distracted in that one story because it's definitely going to come up on its own. Back to Marianne Russell and the sale of religious and spiritual belief systems as kind of cover for political beliefs or a political sales pitch. The problem I have with these two divergent areas of thought, and why the separation of church and state is not only necessary to a free democracy, but they are incongruous. They cannot operate together in the same way that a monarchy cannot operate inside a true democracy, or vice versa. Democracy cannot operate inside a monarchy. There's a direct refutation of the ideals of democracy within monotheistic religion, especially when it's carried out in an orthodox way, and democracy. And again, we've talked about this, but the first two commandments were wiped clean by the wrath of God. No, wiped clean by the First Amendment by the Founding Fathers on purpose. Of course you can have other gods, and of course you can take the Lord's name in vain. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion inexorably tied together, and the separation of church deriving from that, because if you have a church that is linked with the state, then you cannot have the freedom to not participate in that religion. Hence the lawsuits that are going to come in Texas about the Ten Commandments, which, by the way, it's an act of, I believe, heresy and a lack of faith to put the Ten Commandments in front of public schools. It just means you don't think the church can sell it anymore, and you need to you're trying to set up satellite sales kiosks everywhere. Now, in the case of Marianne and Russell and the sort of faux-aggressive spiritual left, which I would include, most of the sort of like borderline like neo-hippies, like Medea Benjamin, I suppose, and that crowd where they're, people who say, and again, this is not about people who use the universe as a placeholder for the word God or that kind of stuff in the general populace. It's about the people that sell that idea to other people, who try to appeal to those people by throwing a bit in the mouth of their religious beliefs and riding it into town. Biden stole a show at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Yes, he did. It was excellent. Really good stuff. Very funny. And the Marge Green gag was rock solid. That said, I think that your spiritual beliefs, and I have my own, and I don't talk about the sort of material aspect of my my spiritual or religious behavior on the show ever, nor will I, really. I would hope that it comes out in my behavior and in my attitude towards other human beings and the like, that in the follow of, that I show my beliefs about charity in how I vilify the other side, through comedy as opposed through violent rhetoric, for example, that kind of thing. And I would much rather, and I think it's a better sign of your spiritual belief, if somebody comes up and asks you what your secret is. And that's one of the reasons, by the way, the left-hand path out. Yeah, middle way in some ways. No, but it's what attracted me to Masonry to some degree, which is, there are a couple of statements that I was just really impressed by in Freemasonry, which was it's a secular organization, but you have to believe in an afterlife or a life beyond this one to join. And in that process, you can believe whatever version of that you want. If you want to believe in the Christian God and Jesus Christ, or Allah and Muhammad, or you want to, if you're a Buddhist or Hindu or whatever, or you want to believe that we live in a sim and you'll be called on the carpet after they take you out of the canister. Either way, that's part of it, right? To be one, ask one. That's right. And that's part of the issue is that you don't sell it to anybody. You don't walk around and tell everybody, hey, you think about being a Mason? You want to be a Mason? Like, if anybody does that, they're not a real Mason. That's how you know. So people should ask. And they should ask because they see you out in the world and go, dude, you have some great friends and some great connections, and you're doing, you have the same struggles everybody else has, obviously, but you have all these positive. What's your secret? And then that's when it is, right? Okay, that's where it comes from. Williamson is an amazing speaker. We'll talk about that in a minute, because I think the people that she talks to are primed for her style of speaking. And when she is not in front of a group that is primed for her style of speaking, she affects black preachers in how she speaks, and I find that creepy. Don't do it. Be yourself all the time. Don't start doing this. Are Masons still male only? Yes, because only men need them. Eastern Star is for women. It isn't an organization that excludes women. It is an organization that is for men. We need special help. There's a reason why most of the violent criminals in jail, the vast majority are always men. We need extra help. That's what it's for. Some ladies do, most ladies don't. And that's why. Men have decided, like, holy shit, there's a bunch of crappy men amongst us. We have to work on each other, and we got to police each other. That's part of where it comes from too. It is a form of social policing internally as well. So that's another conversation for another time. But the sort of froofy, fluffy, non-denominational, universal spirituality sales pitch that you see from these, like, hippies with a pocket full of roofies, where they just kind of want to, they kind of like, does anybody remember, I think it was in Annie Hall, there was this acting teacher or no. Yeah. The acting teacher who was talking to Terry Garr at one point, and he was just like trying all these weird, like, do you mind if I smell your feet or whatever it was? And he was like making her put her hand on his heart and that kind of stuff. Like, he's just trying to move in. It's like, it's a way to prime some women who are charitable as an easy light. It was Tootsie. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's who it was. The guy in the kitchen. Right. So bless you for reminding me. Thank you, Flying Doodle. Absolutely correct. And anytime I have a radar that goes up when I'm surrounded when those people are around. Okay. When those people show up, I'm like, it's one of them. And they, the old days, they would just reek of patchouli and all this stuff. And they were always like, they would always turn out to be like verbally abusive to their girlfriends and shit like that. Those guys, you know what I'm talking about? I forgot my mantra. Sarpus, that was Jeff Goldblum's only line in Annie Hall. He had one line and he killed it. There are no small parts. There are only small actors, right? And that's fantastic. So those kind of folks, like, after working with Marianne and being surrounded by a bunch of those folks, I've always had my guard up. about those kind of folks. In the same way that you'll find, and my dear atheist friends who are out there, the Darwinists who are like, there's no souls, just sex. So what the fuck's the point or whatever. When they try to like manipulate, they try to neg women into sleeping with them. This is all from the dude's standpoint, ladies. I'm sure you have a version of this around you or whatever, where it doesn't really, there's no root to any of it. You know, you treat everybody like fucking leaves, and they're like, I don't know, we're all gonna be dead tomorrow. You're gonna age, get all wrinkly, and they start negging women to sleep with them. It's the same shit, same kind of person, just a different tack. And some folks start genuine and then phase into the sales pitch full of shit version later, when they become disillusioned with their actual belief system, but their entire identity is built on it. So they still maintain that veneer. And this is like faux conservatives who are, you know, couldn't find, tried to fight off their gay nature, or tried to fight off their, you know, their, I guess, anti-monogamy tendencies in that regard, and then get caught and then whatever, or just perv out because they're so pent up. In the same way that there are these hippie folks that ultimately become kind of nihilists or borderline Ayn Randian or Darwinist, but their entire structure to the world for years, for decades, like Russell Brand, has been sold on this kind of hippie idea. And, you know, they still smell like patchouli, and they still wear, you know, the fucking navel cut long shirts, right? But they don't really believe it if you listen to how they talk about it. Log cabin Republicans. Well, log cabin Republicans, I think, would be people who have found their way to be honest about operating within that self-structure. They're honest about their sexuality. They're not hiding it like, I don't know, somebody, if they were, say, in North Carolina or whatever the fuck. Sorry, Anna is what on TYT right now? Anna from TYT is fainting, right? Oh, I see. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So the issue with Marianne is that she was launched by this spiritual movement. It's what made her book famous. It's what brought her to Oprah's doorstep. And Oprah carried her over the threshold. Hal strawmans atheism all the time. I by no means do, Boo Man. I would like to confirm that you're human beings, and that there's a vacillation of human morality and personal strength, regardless of whatever your peg point is for your belief system. And it's, by the way, why I make distinctions between atheists and Darwinists. And I think Darwinists are actually the sort of predatory bullshitters, in the same way that, like, orthodox religious types believe that they know more than the person that they're discussing and want to control their wife and control their family. And if you don't hear me making that distinction, I will make it clearer in future. But I try to make that clear every single time, that there's a difference between Darwinists and atheists. And I would argue that a lot of Darwinists don't have a feeling either way about whether there's a God or not. They simply act on the bestial aspects of their biology and count on it. Okay, so when it comes to Marianne, what launched her career was the book A Return to Love, and Oprah selling it out. And I love the book. I have a couple of copies sitting around, both of them signed, from way back in the day. I remember the first initial boxes of them showing up at her house, like the original pressing, like her first, early pressings of it to look at. Like I was there when that box was cut open. From that, my issue became, you can have a spiritual system whereby you believe, or a lack of spiritual system where you believe there is no fix, which would be the Darwinist version. The quit it, 250. No. So between like those two lanes of human beings, the Darwinists and then the Selvangelicals of whatever religious idea, you can start honestly and then grow into this, oh my God, look at all these suckers. Now, I happen to think in the case of Trump, for example, that he always thought he was ugly, didn't like his face, has always had contempt for women because any woman that would sleep with him would sleep with an ugly guy. So how can you respect a woman who would sleep with an ugly guy just for his money, and all they could love me for is my money? And therefore, like that, his internal dialogue makes him a misogynist because he has contempt for all women that will show him affection or show him attention, and has to show disdain for any woman who wouldn't. And then, of course, he's got to castigate anybody he considers ugly because ugliness, he believes, because he's a simpleton, that his ugliness is like you're better looking if you make fun of other people's looks. It's stupid, but that's what he thinks. You know what I mean? Only good-looking people can call people ugly. That, like, he thinks that he's an idiot. So he thinks that, and therefore that's why he calls some people ugly. So, and again, I don't believe he's a narcissist. I absolutely believe he's got low self-esteem. I will stand on that hill, covered in blood, holding a battle axe over my head till the end of time. Feel free to at me. Shrinks abound. Knock yourself the fuck out. You're not going to talk me up this hill as a genuine narcissist. All right. So, anyways, so when it comes to Marianne, I saw that transition. I saw the arc of where I would say her eyebrows would raise more often when people would question her. Late, I didn't work on her campaign. We lost touch probably, 1994 or something like that. Really, maybe later, 95, something like that. But but I saw the seeds of that, like sort of the how dare you, like question. A woman sold, she made what, $12 million on her first book. I'm sure that's a huge ego boost. I will say though that after I beat out 5,000 people for Talk Soup, went straight from that to Dude, Where's My Card, Queer as Folk, and got a civil rights award for that, and then ended up on Lab Rats and I Love the 90s, which is in everybody's living room, and was the first interracial mother-father relationship on an American sitcom that wasn't a second-tier character. I got a lot to be proud of in my career, and I am. But at no point did I think it made me better than anybody else, except skill for skill. Right? I don't have a problem with challenging somebody's skill for skill, but it doesn't make me inherently better than anyone else. If that makes sense. There's a difference. Like if somebody plays piano better than me, I am more than happy to give them those accolades, and they are more, and I think it's charming and fun if they're like, wish you could do this, and they fucking, you know what I mean? If they went at me like Chico Marx, I'm like, all right, yeah, I get it. It's amazing. I appreciate the effort you put into that. I'm impressed. But on an esoteric or spiritual level, that doesn't mean they're better than me or I'm better than them because, well, I may not know how to play piano, but at least I'm humble. There's a lot of that shit floating around in the faux spiritual world. So it speaks to your motivation. I think so. I mean, there's always something new to learn. There's always something new to do. So, Hal, you're the smartest person on media. Yeah, but Javier, that's a low ceiling, my friend. So anyways, when it comes to specifically those that overlap their religious beliefs or their spiritual beliefs, or indeed their Ayn Randian, Darwinism, which I would say, Rand Paul and his father, and a few of their sort of more libertarian offshoots, although they can't get very far in the Republican Party. In terms of those folks, there is a consistent aspect of their character that I see. And I'm curious, as we watch the primaries play out and how they have to answer to some of this stuff, that these folks inherently believe in their superiority over other people on a thank you, Gottfried. Again, low bar, but I appreciate that. They believe that they are their worth, whether they'll tell you that outright or not. They believe it. And you can tell by how stupid they think the general public is most of the time. Anybody who sells you that the American people are dumb, or the people of the world are dumb, or people in general are dumb, or you can't trust anybody, they sell these kind of broad swaths. It's really not about the average person they meet. Because if you really believe that, can you imagine what a prick you would be in public everywhere you go? You wouldn't be able to make any friends if you genuinely believe that, because you would, unless you were a master grotesque manipulator, which there are very few, because nobody get past that wall. And I mean, you could argue that there are some people that are helped by media and therefore they have a transactional relationship with the public, like Trump and other folks. But in general, there is a feeling that they have that they're better than you. And you can tell because there's no meat on the bone of their suggestions for stuff. Like they'll talk about things like forgive all student loans, or they'll talk in broad swaths like that, like universal health care. But they won't talk about, how they're going to pay for it. And this is where like Bernie gets caught in the reeds, and why his people turned on him is because he recognizes the cost, and he recognizes that a lot of great change is incremental and all that kind of stuff. Once you get into that, they'll turn on you. And in the case of Marianne and Russell, they talk about what's wrong with the system all the time. This system is broken. The whole goddamn system is what's wrong with things. Yet they live and thrive within that system. They stand on top of it. And it is the only system heretofore that humans have come up with, in the case of democracy and capitalism fused together, where the majority of people have a shot at bettering their lives. And if you don't believe me, you need to travel more. Yes, Elizabeth is great. We are the system. That's exactly right. Nobody turned on Bernie. Sue, are you kidding me? Go watch what Jimmy Dore said about him. He called, like, Jimmy Dore was selling Bernie hard, tell everyone. And then the minute he lost fair and square to Biden, Biden was like, look, I know you didn't get as many votes as I did. I know I won this, but there are elements of what you're doing that I believe in. Let's meet together and see how we can solve our parts. He was a politician about it. It was good. But Jimmy hated him for that. You don't even step in the room with allies if they're insufficiently allied. It's a purity test thing. And again, this comes from the TYT crowd's whole, if we can't get everything, nobody gets anything. And so he absolutely did. And it's one of the reasons why the purists, when it comes to like the communist revolutions, for example, or an authoritarian governmental situations, whether it's, a form of like proto-fascism or any of that the people that help get you there are the first against the wall once the revolution is over, because they're going to keep asking. And once you've got the control, you got to shoot them. So anyways, that said, so it's very difficult to maintain a mandate with that, because the minute you do anything that's off the res at all, it's all or nothing. Yes, democracy is indeed messy, and at least we have AOC. Agreed, and he's turned on her as well, and Katie Porter. Yeah, so Jimmy started hating on Bernie when he supported HRC. Well, that's because Jimmy doesn't actually, still frozen at 49.9. It hasn't shown up yet. I think we cleared that. Maybe you know what? They probably dropped me down. All right. Like, subscribe, so we can get well over it, so we don't vacillate, because it happens. They probably cleared out the trolls puffed and then left. I don't know. Who cares? Anyways, point being, I think there are a lot of true believers in the beginning, from a spiritual standpoint or a religious standpoint, that once they get into politics and try to extrapolate that, hold on. Marianne Williamson likes corporate America. She did what she wanted to do. I don't know what you mean, Nancy. I think she benefits from it, but she hates on it all the time. It's very silly. It's very, very weird. Anyways, Hal, you need to talk to Fugelsang about saying off the res. It's a no-no. Honestly, I'm not going to take responsibility for policing someone else's language in that regard. Hashtag Rip Portland. Exactly. I've reloaded 3 times. Still 49.9. We're going to get there, though. Okay, like, subscribe. There we go. I can't go on a green roll because I will tell you what. I will start wearing green in the live short videos that I'm going to start posting as of when we clear 50K. Damn it. Sorry, and one me here 50K. Yes. I renewed my Patreon yesterday, but Blue Badges who have questions. Can anyone help? Yes, Barbara. Mark, I think. I just got new ones, so we'll get you some. All right. Blue Badges. Okay. So, see, Evelyn, we will watch as this plays out. But what I want you to pay attention to is how many of the people who come at it from a quote unquote spiritual point of view, or a point of view of like what I would call like populi spiritum, which is this, the people are the God. This abstract, impoverished, Les Miserables, huddled mass that they represent, that is not being serviced or helped by anybody heretofore. Nobody's ever done anything for these people. And as a matter of fact, all that's ever been done is against them. And I represent the people who've never gotten any, governmental help, no unemployment insurance, no Medicare, Medicaid, no financial support, no nothing. Now, like, they don't even get to benefit from stop signs. Every time they cross an intersection, the other cars just drive through and smash right into them. That crowd. There is a ghost spirit that some folks on the left, and I would argue on the right, do as their kind of like faux majority who somehow believe what they say they believe. This ghost populace that's the same. It's a placeholder for the same kind of, God of the abstract. Does this make sense? That they use all the time. And I would like to say that you should judge people by the actions they take on those fronts. And if there is a ditch to be dug and their idea is not to pick up a shovel, but to wait for a tractor that may never come, they're full of shit. And there's a lot of people that are standing there next to the shovel talking about a mythological ghost tractor that's on the way. Intellectual porn. There's something to that. I mean, I think our weed smoking friends would call into question the derision towards that, but there you go. There we go. Thanks, Susan. I'm trying. It's a lot to pack in this conversation. Hal's proof that meat works. It's true. Alcohol as well. Yes. So we'll end up exploring this as, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is running, and he's doing the exact same thing. Where Marianne would talk about universal spirituality and the concept of love, in quotes, I would say, which seems to be entirely the ego that I've always been warned about in the Course in Miracles circles, and yet that Robert F. Kennedy Jr., there's this myth of vaccines have taken more lives than they've saved. Vaccines have done more damage than good. And it's all because money, 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 and big pharma is one organization, not a bunch of companies competing to try and do stuff, right? How much you best you? I do okay. So hypothetical metaphysical. That's hard to say, Elizabeth, unless you have lips and a tongue like mine. You guys are awesome, by the way, and thanks. With Marianne, it's do as I say, not as I do. In some cases, I know we're hitting 50K. Come on now, come on. Like, subscribe wherever you are. Help out the show. Also, support the show via Venmo or Super Chat or Cash App or any of that kind of stuff, and help us out. I'm doing more vegetable protein powder. They're getting better with the taste. Well, that's all right. Good. Watching porn with your husband. All right. Good for you. I don't know. I've never been able to pull that off with a relationship. It's always been weird. Even when I dated a porn star, which you would think. Never mind. It's a long story. Anyways, so back in the day, before y'all knew me at all. So RFK Jr. smokes way too much weed. All right. When did you turn away from Williamson? I didn't turn away from her. I just got on with my life at one point. Yeah. To be completely honest. I mean, I worked for it. I was, but I recognized at one point that I was an expendable volunteer number 7, no matter how much I worked and helped and did stuff. It didn't matter. So, and I had a career. I had stuff to do. And at one point, interestingly enough, and this is, yeah, we can go into this. There's a Young Turks troll in the house. That's okay. They have to have, they love to be anywhere but watching that show. It's very curious. That Course in Miracles is too long to not produce any miracles. Well, it depends on your definition of miracles. So what's with RFK Jr.'s voice? His paralysis of his vocal cords. I was a red shirt. That's right. I was a Marianne Williamson red shirt. No matter how much, guy. So during the time that I was working for Marianne, I was doing. I had a sketch comedy group called Here Comes the Neighborhood at the Ice House in Pasadena, and we were doing 2 live shows every Friday night. It's where I met Chris Bono and others. My dear friend, rest his soul, Ken Polk, who was so goddamn funny and was killed by the groundlings. I will stand by that as well. I was kind of always Second City do or die, but especially after what he went through because of how they vote people in and the fucking pissing contest that is the main stage of there. It's just gross. Anyways, so I was doing Marianne's lectures on, on Tuesday nights, and I would run the sound and set everything up, and I was going up to her house and doing tech shit, and I was, while she was writing, I was keeping her laptop updated. Back in the day when you needed a kind of a tech to make everything work, I ran the Ethernet, from the main house to the guest house where she wrote, and after she sold her book and all this kind of shit. And while I was working there, I was doing my comedy on the weekends and that kind of thing. And she knew about it in vague terms. Everybody, a lot of the volunteers, except for maybe 2 of the older ones, came and saw a show at some point. But that never happened with Marianne or anybody close. Like, it was that was an absurdity. So while I was doing that, I realized at one point, because my buddy Rob had a Media 100 system and I was helping him maintain that as well. I was doing a lot of computer tech work to kind of keep myself afloat. I never waited tables, so I taught Kung Fu, and then I, had computer skills, would travel. That was the 90s. So did I run the cable underground? No, I ran it above the house. So I had to run it up onto the roof, attach it there, and then throw the excess and create a coupler and run it across the top of a tree and then into the house. Yeah. Anyways, so right about the time I was kind of phasing out of working with Marianne, I was doing that thing, and I realized that for all the effort I was putting into these live shows, if we just filmed some sketches, I could make a pilot of my sketch comedy group, and we could sell it instead of just, doing live shows and they're gone. Every weekend they're gone, right? So, SCTV and not ready for primetime players generation. Yeah, not necessarily the news. A bunch of that stuff. So, anyways, I decided to really, focus on that. And so I was still doing both. Still driving up to Montecito to help Marianne. And I was still doing my shows on the weekend. And I was filming these sketches and editing them on a system that would break down every day and a half. Yeah, Steve, I agree. We have a fantastic community here, and they are lovely. It's true. Yeah, very inspired by kids in the hall and the ability to shoot my own stuff. And things were changing, right? And so I got together with my group, and we did this. And I've told the story of how I broke up with that group, and the sort of heartbreak that entailed. But what happened after that was my trust meter was completely destroyed. At probably around 96, 97, I didn't trust anybody. I'd lost 2 managers. One had gone to jail for stealing. Luckily, he hadn't made me any money, so he couldn't steal it too, but he stole from all of his other clients. And when the FBI or whoever raided his office, they took all my videos, the video cassettes that I'd made of this pilot that we were pitching, and all my headshots, which was all my money, and it was taken in evidence and then just thrown out. I never got it back, even though it wasn't their property, because it was on their property. Anyways, it was bad. And so by 97, I was like, my buddy Rob, and then I had a couple of friends, but I didn't trust anybody I was in business with at all. And right after I broke it up with my group, after they decided to kick me out because they thought I was the reason we lost a development deal with Universal, when Universal had told me personally, we're going to we want you, we don't want your group. And I said, I don't come without my group. And they said, well, then we pass. And then I didn't tell the group that because I wanted us to keep swinging. And they told me, we think they dropped us because of you, and we want to go back to them with it. And I was like, after all that, I was like, all right, fuck you. And it was pretty terrible. So right after that, I got a job producing comedy bits for a show, and they were like commercial spoofs, and I would edit and cut them together, and then I would the company would give me just random boxes of video cassettes that they had the rights to, and then I could cut these things into 30-second and 1-minute comedy bits and do a voiceover or a jingle or song, blah, blah, blah. And then I would give it to them, and then they would up-res them in their studio, right? And I would do kind of like the low-res version of it. And the first year they asked for 17. The next year they were so popular, I was over 76 they wanted. And I brought Chris Bono on to help me because the workload was so much. But I was effectively, so right now, I weigh 165 pounds. I'm 5'9", I weigh 165 pounds, fully clothed, soaking wet. And at that point, while I was working for Marianne and doing this Disney project and had just finished this pilot that I'd put together basically by staying in my basement, editing nonstop, and had been doing these live shows, I weighed 128 pounds. And I was ash gray. Yeah. And it was like I had burned myself to a fucking nub. And I decided that the one thing I could trust was stand up. And I said, I don't, I'm not going to get into another group. I don't know what my whole business plan for the next decade had collapsed, just fallen down a giant hole, and I had no money. And so I just said, well, the one thing I can do is get on. I was 26, 27, 20. I'm the same age as the year, whatever it is. So it's 2023. I'm 53. That's how it works. I was born 69, late in the year. So you can always tell what year it is, and my age lines up. So 94, I was 24. 95, I was 25. On and on. Okay. 27 years old and into going on 28. And everything had just like the last 6 years of work that I had put in just got thrown down a fucking well. And I figured the only thing I have is stand up. It's me, and I don't have to trust anybody else. The mic doesn't even have to work. I talk loud enough that fuck it. If it's gonna, they can't eat me alive. And if the club sucks, I can move on to another one. And so I just decided I'm going to do stand-up every night. And that was the first year the year before was the first year I auditioned for Talk Soup. I auditioned for Talk Soup for 4 years in a row. Got it on the fifth try. And I did stand-up for 2 years straight. From 97 to 99, I did not miss a night. My birthday, Christmas Eve, New Year's, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it did not matter. I did not miss a single. I did an open mic or an actual gig somewhere for 2 years straight. And in some cases, it meant driving my piece of shit Mitsubishi Montero with a hole in the floor on the passenger side that I could see the road through, out to fucking Sylmar or Simi Valley or fucking Antelope Valley, to some coffee shop where some dude, was throwing together like in front of 8 people. But it didn't matter, because stand-up is the only art you can only work out on stage. You can only work it on stage. It is singular like that. Singing, you can get in a booth and have a singing coach on the other side, and eventually they will tell you, you sound great. You sound like a singer. Those are the notes. The performance is good. Go get them. And then you can step in front of an audience and maybe deal with your performance style that will develop. But you got it. You can have confidence you have a skill. Same thing with acting. You do acting classes in school and all that kind of shit, and you won't, unless you even qualified, you wouldn't get the audition. So once you have the job, shit, you're obviously qualified. But stand up, you can't practice that in your room. That's done in front of people. And so I just decided I got to go back to square one. And so I did. So for 2 years straight. And 2 years to the day from that happening, I got Talk Soup. And didn't tell any of my family, because I'd had so many jobs come and go that my dad at one point, I think, thought I was on drugs, because even though he knows I'm a teetotaler, I'm straight edge, always have been, always will be. That he knew, like he even though he knew that, he was still convinced, because I would get a job and then it would go away, because jobs go away, that it must be, I must be deluded or drunk or something. Anyways, point being is that my time with Marianne and with her group and with around that crowd, and there's some lovely people involved, was, I think, how I deluded myself away from the work I needed to do, and why I was overly charitable with people who treated me like shit. And I to some degree played a sucker's game that kept me from doing the work that actually makes people's lives better, because I think comedy is a calling. I think comedy is the Lord's work. Because if you can bring joy to somebody, holy hell, it's worth more than gold. So it was a drag. And I recognize that now, but I was young and, so when I look at, so you need to know what I'm telling you is that I see when Marianne is talking and when Russell's talking and when people like that talk, I have an experience around and through that world that I am seeing reflected in that. So if I have a bias because I was burned during that time and I recognized my own gullibility, and again, this goes towards that thing I was saying earlier, where the true believers are the first up against the wall, because once they stop believing, you're in big trouble because they see the cracks you always see cracks in those situations. You will always bypass the normal humanity in a situation because you don't want you don't want to ruin the high of the situation you're in. You want the myth to keep rolling. So you look past all this stuff. Look at Michael Cohen's another great example. Looked past Trump's failings all the time because the ride was good, and we'll ignore that. We'll ignore that. We'll ignore that and ignore that. And then when the wheels fall off, you're like, fuck, I knew it this whole time. I should have listened to myself. Like that's how this occurs. And so when Marianne's running and doing this stuff, that sticks out to me. That I recognized, and again, this isn't even about, for me, this isn't about her or even Russell in that regard, about somebody's spiritual belief or path or lack thereof. Because the only value in these situations, the only value is how does it reflect who you are and how can you make you better? That has to be, and that's why you'll never hear me be like, more Ed Grimley, please. You'll never hear me talk down regret, because I think regret is incredibly empowering. I think regret is an incredible driver. And the only people that don't have regret are psychopaths and sociopaths, I think. And there are ways you can go, well, I should have known better at the time, but I didn't, so whatever. I hold on to that stuff, and maybe pathologically so, maybe more so than necessary, but it has served me as a human being, and it has made me, I think, in my interactions with other human beings, I hope, more patient and forgiving in certain lights, and less apt to take bullshit on the other side, so that my good nature isn't weaponized against me. Because that's the other thing I saw all the time in the Marianne circle. Not for her, because she'll come down hard on people. She had very distinct lines and a huge power play. And a lot of it, her fallback, which she would make it about, it's because I'm a woman, whatever, and use sort of a feminism defense when it wasn't indicative of what was going on at all. At all. At all. Let me just say that. At all. When women are denied opportunity and possibility because they're women, that's a horrible thing, and it should not happen. And anybody who takes advantage of the fact that those women get denied a position or a situation because they're women and uses it as a cudgel when they are not in that situation is just as awful as the people who perpetrate the discrimination in the first place. Fuck that. All right. Anyways. Excellent, Javier. I'll see you at Flappers. Yes, May 31st. It's going to be great. Regret is helpful, but in many people it creates crippling guilt. Fine line. Right. That's why I'm a fan of regret. Crippling guilt is not the same thing. And by the way, crippling guilt over something is different than regret. Regret is you had options and you took the wrong one. Guilt over a crime you committed that you knew was bad at the time and you enjoyed and you benefited from, and then you're living with the results is a wholly different thing. I've been curious about your connection to Marianne. Thanks for sharing. Absolutely, Bonnie. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for subscribing. It's Al Sparks Mornings, Mega Worldwide. We're a little loosey-goosey on the morning stuff. We'll get to the trends in just a moment, too. Yeah, everything depends on the situation. You have to... gradations. Life is in the grays, kids. It's in the rainbow of the visible spectrum of light. It's not all... infrared and ultraviolet. So, you guys need to know that when I'm addressing those folks, I'm doing it with that history. That's been my experience. And I've told you guys about my friend Dan and his friend Sue, who she was dating this guy who was physically abusing her, and I told her to break it up and tell him to go fuck himself. And this is when we were all going to Marianne's lectures. And she started spouting this stuff about seeing the light in him. And I was like, if there's light in him, you can see it from a fucking distance. The guy's hitting you, no, end of story. Because the story will be, in his own head, as a male, and I'm here to tell you, is that he hits you and hurts you, and you stay. And then eventually, you talk him out of it, and you see the light in it, and he stops hitting you, and then you realize he's not interesting, he's just an asshole, there's nothing that was there, you like the excitement and the fear and the other stuff, you were attracted to something else, and you leave. And what he learns is, if I hit her, she stays, if I stop hitting her, she leaves, and then he kills the next woman he dates. And you played a part in that chain, break the chain, stop it, fuck that. And she said... well, I would have said don't hit, but he wasn't in the car. It was her. She said, I didn't ask you for your opinion. I didn't ask you for your advice on this. And I said, yeah, you did. You asked me for a ride to the airport. You could have taken a fucking cab and the guy would have kept his fucking mouth shut the whole time. And and by the way, she and Dan were both sitting in the back seat of my fucking car, while I was in the front seat driving them like a goddamn limousine driver. And I said, you asked me for a ride in my car knowing who I am. You wanted me to say this. You want to hear this, even if you think you don't. Or you would have taken a cab. And and I'm a zero tolerance guy on that. You don't hit anybody who's defenseless. You don't hit anybody who's smaller than you. You're allowed self-defense in any circumstance to the extent that you can nullify the danger posed to you. But if you're the active ingredient in it, it's on you. Fuck you. End of story. And it is no one's responsibility to rehab you. If I'm a piece of shit, that's my problem. Anyways. So, we're going into some deep stuff. But this was during the time we were all listening to the same lectures. We were all listening to Marianne talk. We were all going regularly. We would carpool to see her together. Oftentimes I would drive because I had to be there early. And they would get a good seat because I was running sound. I used to be too nice. Now I'm kind of an evil. I'm kind of an evil mofo now. Well, just Kendra, that's what happens. And it's not because you were too nice. It was because you overlooked certain gaps that did you damage, and now you're reacting. Anyways, front row Hals, right? Like the front row Joes, yeah. Never hit anyone? No, you can hit some people. That's okay, but only if you're in danger of being hit yourself. Or someone else is in danger of being hit. Then you have a responsibility to hit said person. I have no problem with that. I'm not an absolute pacifist where I'm going to sit by and watch somebody get the shit kicked out of them or killed for no fucking reason. If somebody picks a fight and they're just dicking around, that's on them. But no. Nazis always punching on. Nope. Only punch a Nazi if the Nazi is engaged in punching you, because your lack of active violence is indicative of your better society and not theirs. And I'm never going to give them ammo to go, see how violent you people are. If only we could, this type of, your society is full of violence, right? So, what kind of talks were they? She gives spiritual lectures. They're still available online, lots of them. As a matter of fact, I have reel-to-reel tape of from her early lectures, from Marianne's stuff from back in the day. Yeah, never. Well, technically, Bet Cantrell. She says never start violence. Violence is only the started part. Just say, yeah, violence begets violence. Yeah. No, I don't think so. Violence, in a self-defense sense, self-defense is not violence. It is not. Never has been, never will be. Violence is predicated on violating the peace or the state that everyone else was in. The person who starts it is committing the act of violence. The person who stops it is not. Period. Yes, kindness is not weakness. I agree. Yeah. Yeah, well, it pisses me off when someone forces me into a situation I need to use violence. Nope. You're selling yourself short, Central Scrutinizer. You don't need to use violence. And I don't know what that situation you're talking about is. I mean, if there's a threat of violence, it's the same as violence. I'm telling you, like somebody holding a gun to you or threatening you with violence is in and of itself an act of violence, in the abstract. Violence can end violence? No. Violence, it's not violence. Self-defense can end violence. Work on kindness every day. Yeah, well, I agree, Nick Rich, although I don't think you have to work on it. I consider Rittenhouse violent, though, unless he does not reoffend, so to speak. Well, the idea is that we talked about this. If he had a handgun on him instead of that fucking AR-15 monstrosity, that shit would have never gone down. The most that would have happened was that he would have shot the first guy because that guy was trying to molest him, was trying to get him away from the crowd because he'd just been let out of although I think Rittenhouse was too old for him because that guy was a child predator. It was the point that he was walking around with this thing, basically, trying to be an active show-off threat. Hiroshima wasn't violence? No. Unless you think the Japanese were justified in Nanjing because of conflicts with Mao's forces over the islands around Japan. I have a concealed and not scared. All right. I've been jumped by 50 people cut in the face with a razor trying to do community outreach with kids, but Kempo saved me. Well, I certainly hope so, Just Kendra. And that would be an act of self-defense. That would the people jumping you and the people with the razor, that's violence. Yeah. In the Baton Death March, right. Yeah. Golden Rule applies everywhere to everything. Which one? That he who has the goals makes the rules, or treat other people as you would be treated? Because that's a very odd situation. It's the first time I've had this, but if I was, you can't really say this if you're not, because I don't think like someone like that. But if I were a child molester, I would want someone to beat me to death, if that makes sense. But then if I were me, I wouldn't be, and therefore I wouldn't think that. But as I think now, in the abstract, distanced from that, I would want that. If I was one of those people, I wouldn't want that. But if you know what I mean? It's a tough one. Oh boy, what a conversation to walk into. It absolutely is. The bigger the barrel, the smaller the dick. It depends. I mean, arguably, the term, equalizer was often applied to the fact that women were allowed to carry guns in the Old West. Yet, I know. Subscribe. Okay, too deep. I know we're working on it. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up. Okay, let's look at the trends. And let me see if they're even the same. Hold on, I'll reload them because we've been talking so long. Yep, panic is still number one. Panic. Why would panic? I don't know. Like, oh, that's because they're saying panic. I see. Panic of 1907. Major banks were on the verge of collapse until John Pierre Morgan stepped in to save them. This eventually led to the creation of the Federal Reserve. Banking crisis 2020. Major banks were on the verge of collapse until JP Morgan stepped in. Yeah, that's not the same thing. They didn't buy the other ones. They bought this one. And by the way, all right, let's address something. Yeah, this is mainly okay. So bank failures, blah, blah, blah. This is okay. These regional banks, most of them got in over their head with crypto. But in the case of First Republic, their problem was they were giving loans to rich people for almost fucking nothing just to get the deposits of those rich people who ultimately, like Trump, didn't actually have any fucking deposits to put there. So let me show you. Hold on. First Republic. I think it's, well, hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring this up, chat room, because this is fascinating to me. Hold on. JP Morgan's first charge opinion doing my first week of curse. Yeah, here it is. This is, people will go about like, oh my God, the Biden administration and the raising of interest rates and they're trying to destroy the economy. First Republic's jumbo mortgages. Hey, you ever had a jumbo mortgage? Me neither. Because those are aimed at super rich people, or more to the point, allegedly super rich people. It is becoming clear that in many ways, the 1% aren't the problem, nor are arguably the 3 or the 5%. The problem is the lower 8 to 10% who want everybody to think they're still part of the 1% and are bullshitting everyone to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, the seeds of First Republic's downfall were sown in the jumbo mortgages of Silicon Valley. And where did all that money go? Did it go to develop actual shit? No. It was for these apps are going to make everything, and there's no overhead, and you don't have to build anything, and Apple's going to make the carriage, and we're just going to throw gold coins in it as it rolls by. Where a unique strategy to loan wealthy individuals extraordinary sums of money blew up in spectacular fashion. Let me run that by you again. May I? Do I? Sam Rockwell is awesome. The seeds of First Republic Bank's downfall were sown in the jumbo mortgages of Silicon Valley, where a unique strategy, that's the lovely way to put it, unique strategy to loan wealthy individuals extraordinary sums of money blew up in spectacular fashion. In the early 1980s, First Republican Chairman Jim Herbert, then running San Francisco Bancorp, wanted to get into a new line of business. The Bay Area's high earners were coming to him and asking for unusually large loans to buy pricey properties in the area. By the way, you have to make $300,000 a year in San Francisco to live like you make $100,000 a year anywhere else. And that's low res there. All right. Why don't we do a couple of these and see how they go? Can't bankrupt the whole bank, Herbert said to the firm's president, according to the account of the conversation on First Republic's website. Hey, weren't even high. That's it. Years later, after Herbert left San Francisco Bancorp and founded First Republic, his new bank became known for handing out interest-only mortgages at rock-bottom rates to borrowers with high incomes and exceptional credit scores. Typically, they didn't have to start repaying the principal for a decade. You ever seen those things where like, no, interest-only payments, or no payments for 6 months, or first year, no interest, interest only for the first year when you buy a fucking washing machine. Yeah, these people were doing this with giant skyscrapers. Now you know why the Trumps of the world were able to build these fictitious wealth portfolios. Demand for the loans surged during the pandemic as wealthy buyers sought mortgage deals that would allow them to keep the bulk of their money in higher return investments. The rush helped First Republic double its assets in 4 years. It also contributed to its collapse. In the early hours of Monday morning, JP Morgan Chase & Co. agreed to acquire First Republic from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp., which seized the bank after a tumultuous period in which its stock had cratered and depositors pulled out almost half their money. Just a few weeks earlier, Wall Street's biggest banks had stepped in to shore it up with their own cash. The deal marks the second biggest bank failure ever in the U.S., and by the way, after a huge drop-off. Because, what was it? Washington Mutual. That was the biggest one ever. And this was like a third that size. There's a huge fucking... It's fucking stupid. Anyways. Yeah. Balloon loans were the downfall of many small businesses in the 80s. Yeah, it has so much like the savings and loan. So, yeah, here we go. So this dude right here, Stack Hodler, whatever. Saying like JP Morgan Chase, it's all part of the Fed and the big Illuminati. What, the Rothschilds, it's the Jews, it's the globalists, but all that horse shit. JP Morgan Chase, stepping in to salvage the economy even back then, benefited everybody. JP Morgan Chase isn't the biggest bank in the fucking country. So if they saved the economy in this guy's telling and jumped in to save them and created the Federal Reserve, whatever, and they didn't manage to actually benefit the most, the fuck is your point? Okay. Let's see. Peel is composed entirely of monoglycerides. A peel is composed entirely of purified monoglycerides and diglycerides, edible compounds that can be found in a variety of foods. Their safety is verified, including they're so safe they can be found in products designed for the most sensitive population, including from. It's okay, guys. Panic over. WCPT says Bill Gates' toxic poison. I mean, a peel is safe to eat. All right, whatever. This just panic is just going like. Let's see. Get to wait. Let's get in the pandemic. You panic. I'm gonna go to the latest. Because panic is American Airlines pilots authorized to strike. Here's why you shouldn't panic. All right, well, shouldn't panic. COVID panic was a total refutation of the liberal Enlightenment view of human nature. It could be what will be the beginning of a grand turning point in history. What the fuck? Yes, the Enlightenment was wrong because we're all still here. I don't know what the fuck. Okay, so American Airlines strike. White people want when a panic attack is accurately depicted in a kids movie. They're responding to. Oh, I see. Puss in Boots has the most accurate depiction of a panic attack in media I've ever seen. Exactly how it feels. You can't think, can't speak. Sometimes even the sound of low one is drowned by heart beating out of your chest. You're going to hell for this tweet, by the way? Whatever. Also, there are dozens of movies. I mean, all of Iron Man 3 is about the panic attacks caused by PTSD. It's like the subplot of that, of Iron Man 3. He said he keeps having, panic attacks related to what happened in New York. What you do if this happens, it doesn't matter. Unless that's an egg and nuclear sperm, in which case I guess I'd be nice to Red Hulk baby. I don't know, whatever. An all-time favorite of mine, grounding from a feeling of being overwhelmed or panic. 5, things you could see. Examples, color, shapes, grounding technique. Things you can feel, things you can hear, things you can smell. 1 thing you can taste. Examples, last meal. Don't say last meal. Jesus Christ. I had panic attacks because of Queer as Folk. Not because of the storylines, but because of all the heartbreak and all the stuff that my character went through, like having to relive, like doing 20 arguments in a day, 20 heartbreaking moments in a day, it wore me down, especially because Michael always he never saw it coming. So, yeah, so I after the second year, and I fixed him with yoga, by the way, just so you know, breathing techniques and yoga whenever I found them coming on. It worked. Breaking. Judge Kaplan, the presiding judge in the E. Jean Carroll case, has been denied a motion. Has just denied a motion for mistrial without comment. Yeah, Tacopina filed this morning at 5:30 a.m. New York time for a mistrial because the judge understood a literary reference that E. Jean Carroll said. Yeah. So Judge Kaplan exhibited bias, because he exhibited bias because he got in her literary reference that he didn't even recognize the joke. So retrained. So all the men here in this courtroom in this country all get shuffled off to Montana and get retrained. You understand that was said as a satire. Okay. And the court goes, the judge said, it comes from Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal 700 years ago, right? She says, yes. Court says, let's move on. And Tacopina says, thank you, Your Honor. And he's like, this is terrible. Like, he's like, this is about Irish people and eating Irish children and blah, blah, blah. Yes, it was done as a satire of that. And by the way, the Montana part and, that's what it comes from. Anyways, it's just because he's stupid. Yeah, so they want a mistrial because they suck. And he wants, by the way, this is a standard filing for somebody like Tacopina. He's going to try and use this in appeal. We should have gotten a mistrial and try to find a Trump-friendly judge once they find for her. So that's why. Yeah. So Kaplan's telling him to go fuck himself. Shameless is trending because of Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't know why. I don't see her in here. 270 Republicans voted to cut veterans care because they're shameless and don't actually give a fuck about our veterans. P.S. This is the first time Republicans voted against our veterans. America First is Republican bullshit. Yeah, there you go. So this is 2811. There you go. America is done with Trump. Agreed. I totally agree. DK pages. I don't know what that is. Orange and green. Yikes. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. crushes the accusation that he's anti-vax, the idea that COVID shots were safe and effective. Why is Piers Morgan still defending this idea? How many vaccines didn't prevent illnesses and require a booster every few months? Okay. There are variants of diseases, and the boosters make up for the fact that some move past it, and it's a fast-moving pandemic, and it reached so many people that there were speedy variants throughout it. Of course, they would need boosters in a situation like this. Eventually, you'll get to the point where it slows so much that you would need them like a flu shot every year, maybe even every 2 years. And in the case of mRNA, in a lot of cases, you won't need one. But yeah, so... Let's see. Piers Morgan is a garbage failed hack. Okay, this is all like right-wingers attacking this whole thing. DeSantis, wore a campaign-branded kippa at the Western Wall. Could he be more shameless? Ew. Wore a DeSantis campaign kippa. Yeah, good Lord. Because he didn't have one. Whoops. Richard saying when a young wrestler asked for help. Oh, it's just some wrestling bullshit. I don't trust wrestling. I mean, you have in mind. What he wants for Florida and indeed for the U.S., given his national aspirations, is what Israel's leaders are also committed to. Further cementing an authoritarian, anti-democratic, repressive government that has absolutely no regard for human rights. Yeah, well, he wants to get... he knows that Netanyahu, isn't all in on Trump this time, so he's hoping he can get a boost by having him support him. Of course. Nikki Haley. Oh, Lord. Making sure our military has the equipment they need to keep us safe is a priority. Sig Sauer Inc. is keeping them on the cutting edge. Thank you for letting us check out the latest Live for Your Die. Yeah, it's for military people, dum-dum. And by the way, the majority of the guns in the United States that are used by law enforcement and military that are Sig Sauer are handguns, insofar as I know. Posers. Fuck that. All right. What's this? What in the world? Updating our sticker offerings. What? Update? Huh? Sexually tried to be okay. And this is the Ted Cruz stuff. We're going to address some of that later because there's video of him talking about his bullshit. Paul Stanley is trending because of his statement on trans stuff. Has thoughts about parents who support kids' gender identities. This is his actual thought right here. And D. Snyder supported. He goes, there's a big difference between teaching acceptance and normalizing and even encouraging participation in a lifestyle that confuses young children into questioning their sexual identification as though some sort of a game, and then parents in some cases allow it. There are individuals who as adults may decide reassignment is their needed choice, but turning this into a game or a parent normalizing it as part of some natural alternative, or believing that because a little boy likes to play dress up in his sister's clothes or a girl in her brother's, that we should lead them steps further down a path that's far from innocence of what they are doing, with many children who have no real sense of sexuality or sexual experience caught up in the fun of using pronouns and saying what they identify as. Some adults mistakenly confuse teaching acceptance with normalizing and encouraging a situation that has been a struggle for those who are truly affected and have turned it into a sad and dangerous fad. He's reacting to the detransitioner crowd, and he's right about that. And again, this has nothing to do with real trans people. This has to do with two groups of people: trans trenders, people who play at it and slacktivize it online, and parents. And that whole I Am Jazz show stuff that's coming out right now. This didn't come out of nowhere. There's the show I Am Jazz, where Jazz is apparently having a horrible identity crisis right now. Has gained a ton of weight because of the hormones that she's on. And the transition was murky and muddy and stuff. And the mom just looks like she whipped her into it. And whether she did or not, and again, there's a reason why shows like that are called docu-soaps and are bullshit. But the issue is that you've got this kind of like activist parent driving this more than perhaps even the child. And especially if it starts super, super young, because you don't let the kid just make up their own mind and you kind of enforce this idea early on. There's a bunch of that going around right now. And it is of concern. And again, has nothing to do with genuine trans people. Because again, Rachel Dolezal is not black, and criticizing Rachel Dolezal and her behavior is not criticizing the behavior of black people. Does that make sense? Okay. That's the difference. And that's the distinction he's making. You know what? It was the time when I felt pretty too. Glad my parents didn't jump any rash conclusions. Well said, Paul Stanley Live. Exactly. The idea that gender fluidity, when you would lock someone into it at a very young age, seems to be more directed. Especially for somebody who's, like these are guys who are not afraid of femininity. So I get where he's coming from, and he means well, and he's not attacking trans people, and there's a bigger conversation to be had. Done. I don't know why Maxine with 3 X's is trending. Oh, it's a movie. Okay, good. All right. Well, I'll talk about it after I see it. Maybe Larry Hogan, not to be confused with Hulk. Because Larry Hogan might run for the Senate seat. And by the way, chat room, everybody get what I was saying? Yep. Let's see. God bless femininity. Exactly. Michael J. Fox not doing well. Parkinson's getting worse and worse. It's rough. It's heartbreaking. We did a thing for MS, like a Rock Against MS thing. I would like to do one around Parkinson's as well. With the jam, I'm going to talk to them and we'll do it this summer. Hopefully, raise some money and it's hard to say because once people have it, it's about prevention and interrupting it early on at this point because of the danger and the damage of it done to the neurological tissue in your brain and once it breaks down, like rebuilding it. There's definitely technology that can, you can regrow neurons and you can regrow nerves and the like, but it's nowhere near the scale it needs to be. And it needs a lot more research. You have to play Johnny, be good for Michael J. Fox. That's a great idea. He's a lovely human being. He really is. Yeah, Ben Cardin, Democrat of Maryland, is not running for re-election. Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan just announced he's not running for president. He would not win a Republican primary for president, but he's already won Maryland twice, both primaries in general. Yeah, there's a chance he could become the senator. I mean, that is one of the steps. I mean, most of the time he would caucus with the Democrats on most bills because he's not. I mean, they would hate him. He would be their Joe Manchin. GOP will keep Joe just around for just an extra. By the way, anybody like the fact that we need to fucking squeak by with these votes? Can we just commit to voting for Democrats for the next decade and just stop dicking around? Vote for the one that can get elected, get them in there so we can move instead of this like, well, I don't know. I never get my needs met because I understand we only had 48 with 2 independents we got, but they should have just forced stuff through. And meanwhile, while, like Bush and the Republicans had control, they're just forcing stuff through. Like, shut the fuck up. Huge breaking George Santos news. The Justice Department is conducting a criminal probe into his campaign finances. That won't be hard. Except maybe finding his accountant. Hashtag unless you have kids. Gangsters don't hire family members because they're qualified. Gangsters hire family members because they're less likely to talk to the FBI. Rear image of a shark stepping on a Lego. All right. Condoms prevent minivans. Whatever. You enjoy spontaneous travel. Hashtag unless you have kids or pets. Smiling face, am I telling you that your new dad joke? Okay. You know what it's like to walk in on her daughter while she's having a high school party. Super fun until getting grounded for 3 weeks. Whoops. Love you, Ma. Rest in peace. Road trip selfies before and after lunch. I'm sorry, but hangry is no excuse. If you're a fucking grown up, I don't do hangry. I don't do it. I don't know what the fuck that is. Can you walk to the fridge? Can you get the food yourself? Then why are you in a mood? Ever. Anybody who fucking feed yourself makes no sense to me. You know what I mean? For God's sake. Progressive Democrats have it together. I agree. For the most part, we're doing a fairly solid job. It's an excuse, right? That whole Snickers campaign, it's not really me. Unless you have kids, your nudist wife can roam free. I cannot wait for them to move out. Huh? All right, whatever. Parenting at 8 a.m., parenting at 8 p.m. What? One thing I love more than kids is doing anything I want at all times. Yeah, no. I gotta say, I don't get that kind of fuck you aspect of it. I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know what Sarah's family life is like, as far as her parents, and they might be up her ass to have kids all the time, which is not the way to do it, by the way. As someone from Kentucky knows. Miles says a reminder, Texas. Okay, this is all Beto is trending. Beto O'Rourke did everything in his campaign to become governor of Texas, but they voted for Greg Abbott anyways. Yeah, agreed. I don't know why this shit. We want white tenants in our white community. Yeah. All right. So just Greg Abbott is discussing you. Okay. I've announced $50,000 reward for the criminal who killed 5 illegal immigrants Friday. Also, operators only going to be on the lookout. I work with state and local officials. Is this the guy who shot the kid and 4 other people as a fugitive? Yeah. And did he really say 5 illegal immigrants Friday? Why wouldn't you just say they're people? I guess just this is the guy, by the way. Oropeza, a Mexican national, is suspected of killing 5 people near Cleveland, Texas, Friday, April 28th. By the way, this guy would shoot his gun, an AR-15, in his backyard all the time, and they would call the police, and the police wouldn't do anything about it. In Texas. Because guns are more important than door knocks or something. Anyways, they told him to stop because it was making too much noise, and he walked into the house and shot 5 people in the head, including a child, with an AR-15. Because an AR-15 is the weapon of the individual tyrant. It is a portable abortion machine. It is a reusable pipe bomb. There was where was it this morning? A store owner. It's a great example of, you know how somebody, all these assholes are like, store owner who, let's see. Yeah. 80-year-old store owner in California shoots an armed robber. This is on CCTV, idiots or whatever. He didn't kill the guy or whatever, so I'll show you this piece of it. But right here, hold on, pause. If you'll notice, the guy comes in. Look at that. See that? See, that's the gun the guy brings into the store. The owner has a shotgun. They don't really show much of it on the... There it is. The owner has a shotgun. I think that's Jimmy Page. Anyways, there it is, right there. And this dude, he fired on the guy who he saw. And the reason he knew to pull his gun out is because this dickhead rolled up on him with this thing. So I guess this is one of the upsides of big, stupid, scary guns, is that you can see them from a fucking mile away, unlike, you know, a 38 special or a small, you know, revolver or a 2-shot, some shit like that. Yeah, so that's the circle in this one. Oh, this is one of these fight shots. This guy steals stuff, and then the owner catches him. Oh, this is a different. That's the guy who stabbed the people or whatever, or is entertained a bunch of bullshit. Anyways, point being, is that where are we? Jay Inslee, Portugal. Just announced. We got to jump on this one right away because just announced always ends up getting stacked with other stuff. Hey, there's Suzanne. Look at that. Just announced shows. Just announced Aerosmith. Oh, yeah. Aerosmith is going to do their farewell tour with the Black Crowes starting at the Garden. Very exciting. Zero Avia. They just announced their unveiling their zero emissions plane. Ew. And some other people announcing stuff, and I don't care. And then they announce this thing. Oh, there's JoJo. What's happening? Good people. Just announced he will commute the sentences of 31 nonviolent drug offenders as part of what he calls the Second Chance Month. 31 people receiving commutations are individuals who have been serving their time in home confinement and have been committed to rehab, which includes finding employment and furthering their education. I'm a big proponent of allowing many of those incarcerated for nonviolent drug crimes to have a second chance. What are your thoughts on breaking news? I'd love to hear some opinions. They have to go through them, and why they don't just do it with a blanket issue is because there are people who have gotten home confinement because they were busted for, the law they absolutely broke was possession of narcotics or of oxy or shit like that, or fentanyl or that kind of stuff, not weed anymore. But they'll get home incarceration. But in a lot of cases, some of them committed other crimes as well. But the police and the judge know that technically we can't give you the time on that, but we all know you did it. And that's the problem. So they'll go, all right, two people get, a year home confinement or a break, one of those like ankle bracelets and that kind of shit to follow you around, the nice little affected something, some ankle pearls to let them know where you are at all times. like you've been key tagged, and two people get the same amount of time, but one of them actually is on the police's radar for like 4 other things, but they haven't proven it yet. And this person just had the drugs. These two people are not the same human. So you got to go through and go, they're fine. They can go back to life. Watch yourself, get a job, straighten up. We'll keep an eye on you. You'll get probation, whatever, but we're going to commute your sentence so you can go back to work and be a human being. You're out. Go for it. This person, though, you let them out and they'll just get back to what they were doing that they hadn't been caught for yet. And that's the issue. Hi, everybody. We need injectable chips that are hard to take out non-surgically. Well, that's a... Biden did indeed rock the correspondence dinner. I agree. I thought he was better than Roy, quite frankly. Did Trump need a ankle bracelet for a Scotland trip? Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Trump announced that he's going to Ireland. He's going to my island. Let's see if I can find that for you. Whatever, like, this stupid shit. Bring this up on you. I'm going to no England. Oh, tonight. Tonight at 8 Eastern. What? Hold on one second. When was this? That was 18 hours ago. Did we miss something? Give me 1 second. Go back to here.
Donald Trump and Mark Levin. The conversation continues.
So many different things we did, and I'm so happy I did it.
Inside.
Yeah. Wow. Hard hitting.
Into the past, present, and future for the former president. Sunday on Life, Liberty, and Levin.
Yeah. Ugh, that's going to be painful. DeSanctimonious. Had nothing. And by the way, DeSantis. I thought this fucker was a master. DeSantis. Right? How do you not see that? Isn't that the easiest one? The shit. Where's it? I'm going to fucking, here it is. We'll be leaving for Scotland and Ireland soon in order to see and inspect my great properties there. Not fleeing the country. That's why he's doing this, by the way. The golf courses and hotels are among the greatest in the world. Well, they were till you took them over, and then now they're kind of gross. Turnberry and Aberdeen in Scotland and Doonbeg in Ireland. We'll be meeting with many wonderful friends. He doesn't have any friends. And cutting a ribbon for a new and spectacular second course in Aberdeen. Very exciting, despite the fact that it is Make America Great Again that is on my mind. In fact, America will be greater than ever before. Jesus Christ. So boring. Oh, the Trump ETFs. Because Trump's people are the only people stupid enough to buy ETFs. That's him on that talk show, whatever. Latest Hunter Biden mom show. Here's the kind of access partners had to VP. Yeah, they had access. Apparently, the people that met Hunter Biden were meeting the vice president's son. I don't know if you knew that. Military to crush cartels. I would do that. Donald Trump takes double-digit lead in Arizona primary. He does realize that's kind of like that should be obvious. What's the thing? Here's Trump 47. He's still under 50. Cheney's getting 4% in this one. Pence, Haley, Liz Cheney has has equal with Pence, more than Haley, Ramaswamy, Pompeo, and Tim Scott. Two-way Trump, it's 52 Trump, 35 DeSantis, until. But with other people, because they don't like DeSantis. This whole group over here, the other 25%, 28%, doesn't like DeSantis. Things are going very well. DeSatanist, I don't know. I think that would make him sound cool to some people. ETFs are better than mutual funds. It depends on, I guess, what the mutual fund is. You mean NFTs? Yes. By the way, I sell NFTs. If you're watching on YouTube, I think there's a store link below. And then, of course, you can get them on my Twitch store as well. They're t-shirts. Put the letter NF on them. With the letters NF on them. Death Santis doesn't work either because that makes him sound cooler than he is. Duh, Santis. No, Paneos, I was reading. It said, yeah, I'll show you. ETFs. And I think we meant that we were jumping around to these. Derp anus. I think it's, yeah. I thought you were talking about ETFs, not NFTs. I see. Gotcha. Okay. No, his NFTs, the only people stupid enough to buy NFTs are, still are people who would buy them from somebody like Trump. It's very telling, actually. Shameless Maxine, Judge Kaplan, Larry Hogan, Raskin just announced. Halsey, let's see. Raskin got to ring the bell. He's over his cancer, which is lovely. Yeah, Raskin would be good. That's true. Raskin or Hogan, I think Raskin has a better shot than Hogan does because the Republicans they're split because he wasn't pro-Trump enough. Yeah, I think there's a good chance that would secure it for the Dem. I think, yeah. Go for it, Raskin. Go for it. Portugal. I don't know why Portugal. Okay, because thank God. It's because of sports. Jay Inslee will not run for a fourth term of governor. Yeah, Washington governor. Senate bill will ban assault weapon sales in state. Yeah, he might run for president. I think that's what it is. Ready to pass the torch. Or he's going to run, for senator, or he's going to step aside and just be a businessman in the state, which is another thing too. Just announced, Halsey, don't care. The Maldives. Why is the Maldives? Yeah. Maldives should be completely underwater already according to the climate. Okay, sorry. In fact, should have been underwater for more than 2 decades already. Want to know why it's not? Because the oceans aren't rising and the whole thing is a scam. Okay, I see. This is somebody's clipping on the. Happy to meet with Maldives Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Abdullah Shahid, in Male today. That is quite the outfit. It looks like he's wearing a small table. Ooh, whale shark. The world's largest fish. Fishy, a fishy requisite. I've always been interested in these kind of places until I see pictures like that. 8 countries that could vanish due to climate change. Right. Let's see. Maldives, a lot of Maldives. They're having a big signing. Okay, fine. All right. All right. We're almost done with the show. Yeah, we got 2 minutes left. Fishy requisite. Okay, so I will check one last time to see if we've cleared the 50K mark. Perhaps. We don't know. We're trying to do it, We'll go to our channel and look. And still says 49.9. We're so close. Hold on. I don't know why that is. YouTube Studio. We cleared it, and then it came back down because people go. Oh, we got 20. We need 24 subscriptions. I think we're going to make it by maybe even, I think it's going to happen by the time we do the show this afternoon. And if it doesn't, we'll do it live. God damn it, we'll do it live. 50K lint rolling, will that do it? Yeah. Come on, we can do this. Yes, like, subscribe, lick and sub. Thank you very much. And then, of course, we will... yeah, so this afternoon, I think we will celebrate the 50K because I think it's good. I think it's going to happen. I think it's excellent. And then, or we'll get up over it, and then some of the trolls will unsubscribe just to keep us below that point because they can see me coming for everyone else. The rest of the world, I'm going to grab the internets by the shirt collar and give them what for. Yes, so I will see you guys this afternoon. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. We have so much stuff to cover this afternoon. Yeah. And think of it, yes, Venmo, that's right. Don't forget, that's a Cash App actually over there. Support the show in any way you can. And if you can't, just enjoy. Yeah. It was a good conversation today, I think. It was a good conversation. I think we had a decent, went a little more in depth with my past than I thought I might on this fine morning. But then I guess that's the price of being sort of, not quite, nude or something on the show. I think the key is, and I think one last thing, if we can, if I might. still see people going by in the background here. Big bada boom. Okay, see you later.